Have you ever faced something that seemed completely impossible? A problem so big, a challenge so intimidating, it just felt like there was no way you could win. We all have those moments, those giants in our lives that seem to tower over us, making us feel small and helpless. Well, today, we're going to talk about a story that's all about facing those giants. It's a story about courage, faith, and the surprising power that comes from trusting in something bigger than yourself. It's the story of David and Goliath. Let's set the scene. Imagine two hills, separated by a wide valley. On one hill, the entire army of Israel is camped, nervous and on edge. On the other hill, their sworn enemies, the Philistines, are gathered, confident and ready for battle. But the source of Israel's fear isn't just the Philistine army, it's one man. A man so huge, he was literally a giant. His name was Goliath. Every single morning and every single evening, for 40 long days, Goliath would stride out into the valley. His bronze armor gleamed in the sun, and his spear was as thick as a weaver's beam, and his voice would boom across the valley, a taunt that made the Israelite soldiers tremble. "Why are you all lined up for battle?" he'd shout. "I am a Philistine, and you are the servants of Saul. Choose one of your men and send him down to me. If he can fight me and win, we will become your servants. But if I overpower him and win, then you will become our servants and serve us." He would then laugh and mock them, saying, "I defy the armies of Israel today. Give me a man and let us fight." Can you imagine the feeling in the Israelite camp? 40 days of this. 40 days of waking up to the sound of this giant mocking you, your king, and your God. The Bible says they were dismayed and terrified. Even their king, Saul, a tall and powerful warrior himself, had no answer. The entire army was paralyzed by fear. No one dared to step forward. The giant seemed unbeatable. The situation looked completely hopeless. They were stuck. Now, let's leave this tense and fearful scene for a moment and travel a few miles away, to the quiet hillsides near Bethlehem. Here, we find a young man named David. David is the complete opposite of Goliath. He's not a soldier, he's a shepherd. He's the youngest of 8 brothers, and his job is to take care of his father's sheep. His days aren't filled with battle drills and military strategy. They're filled with the simple, quiet tasks of a shepherd, leading the flock to green pastures, protecting them from predators, playing his harp, and spending time in nature. But David had something that no one in the Israelite army seemed to have at that moment, an unshakable, personal relationship with God. He wasn't just going through religious motions. He knew God, he talked to God, he trusted God with every part of his life. This quiet shepherd boy, out in the fields, was building a foundation of faith that was stronger than any bronze armor. One day, David's father, Jesse, called him David. He said, "I want you to take this roasted grain and these 10 loaves of bread to your brothers in the army camp, and take these 10 cheeses to their commander. See how your brothers are doing and bring back some assurance from them." So, David got up early the next morning, left the sheep with another shepherd, and headed off to the valley of Elah. He had no idea what he was walking into. He wasn't going to war. He was just an errand boy, delivering a care package from home. He arrived at the camp just as the army was going out to their battle positions, shouting the war cry. As he was talking to his brothers, something happened. The valley fell silent, and that familiar booming voice echoed once again. Goliath stepped out from the Philistine lines and repeated his daily challenge. As the Israelite soldiers ran away in fear, David stood there, listening, and he was filled, not with fear, but with righteous anger. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. He turned to the men standing near him and asked, "What will be done for the man who defeats this Philistine and removes this disgrace from Israel? Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God?" David's words were bold. They were so different from the fearful whispers in the camp that they quickly spread. Someone went and told King Saul what this young shepherd was saying. And Saul, desperate for any glimmer of hope, sent for David. When David stood before the king, Saul looked at him and said, "You can't go out against this Philistine to fight him. You are only a young man, and he has been a warrior from his youth." Saul's response was logical. It was practical. Goliath was a trained killer with years of experience. David was a teenager who watched sheep. It was a mismatch. But David's perspective wasn't based on human logic. It was based on his history with God. He looked at King Saul and said, "Your servant has been keeping his father's sheep. When a lion or a bear came and carried off a sheep from the flock, I went after it, struck it, and rescued the sheep from its mouth. When it turned on me, I seized it by its hair, struck it, and killed it. Your servant has killed both the lion and the bear. This Philistine will be like one of them, because he has defied the armies of the living God. The Lord who rescued me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will rescue me from the hand of this Philistine." David wasn't boasting about his own strength. He was giving all the credit to God. He was saying, "I've faced giants before. They looked like lions and bears, but God was with me then, and he will be with me now." Saul, hearing the conviction in David's voice and having no other options, finally relented. "Go," he said, "and may the Lord be with you." Saul then tried to equip David for battle. He gave him his own tunic, his own bronze helmet, and his own coat of armor. But when David put it all on, it was awkward, it was heavy, it didn't fit. He tried to walk around but couldn't. This wasn't his way of fighting. "I cannot go in these," he told Saul, "because I am not used to them." So he took them all off. Instead, David went back to what he knew. He walked over to a nearby stream, bent down, and carefully chose 5 smooth stones. He placed them in his shepherd's bag. With his staff in one hand and his sling in the other, he walked out into the valley to face the giant. Goliath saw this boy coming toward him, and he was insulted. "Am I a dog," he roared, "that you come at me with sticks?" He cursed David by his gods. "Come here," he bellowed, "and I'll give your flesh to the birds and the wild animals." But David's voice, though not as loud, was filled with a power that shook the heavens. He shouted back, "You come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. This day the Lord will deliver you into my hands, and the whole world will know that there is a God in Israel. All those gathered here will know that it is not by sword or spear that the Lord saves, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give all of you into our hands." As Goliath moved closer, David ran quickly toward the battle line to meet him. Reaching into his bag, he took out a stone, put it in his sling, and let it fly. The stone whistled through the air and struck the Philistine right on the forehead. It sank into his forehead, and the giant fell face down on the ground. Just like that, it was over. The unbeatable giant was defeated. For a moment, there was stunned silence. Then, a massive cheer erupted from the Israelite camp as they rushed forward, chasing the now panicked Philistine army. A victory that had seemed impossible for 40 days was won in a matter of moments. And it was won not by a great warrior in heavy armor, but by a young shepherd boy with a sling and an unshakable faith. David didn't win because he was stronger or a better fighter than Goliath. He won because he saw the situation differently. Everyone else saw an unbeatable giant. David saw an opportunity for God to show his power. David's victory wasn't about the size of his stone, it was about the size of his God. He knew the battle belonged to the Lord. This story is for all of us. We all face giants. Maybe your giant is a fear that paralyzes you. Maybe it's a challenge at work or in your family that seems too big to overcome. Maybe it's an addiction or a habit you can't seem to break. These giants can taunt us, mock us, and make us feel hopeless, just like Goliath did. But the story of David teaches us a powerful lesson. Don't focus on the size of your giant. Focus on the size of your God. Don't try to fight in someone else's armor. Use the gifts and the faith that God has given you. Like David, we can step out with courage, not because we are strong in ourselves, but because we trust that the battle is the Lord's. And when we put our trust in Him, even our smallest, most humble efforts can lead to the greatest victories. So the next time you're facing a giant, remember the shepherd boy from Bethlehem. Remember his courage, his faith, and his 5 smooth stones. And remember that with God, nothing is impossible. Thanks so much for watching. If this story resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe for more content that inspires. See you next time.